You are listening to Becoming Wildly Resilient, brought to you by University of Kentucky Human Resources Health and Wellness. Together, we will discover how we can thrive at work, home, and beyond. Hello, everyone. I'm Amy Rodquist-Kodet, health coach with the University of Kentucky Work-Life and Wellbeing Program. Welcome to Becoming Wildly Resilient Practices, where we'll explore research-based tools and tips that help us thrive more in the areas of life that matter most. This month, we're talking about how to create sustainable change in your life. If you have ever set out to overhaul your routines or make a big life transformation, you are not alone. We are still at the beginning of 2025. Oftentimes, folks have usually crashed and burned with their New Year's resolutions by the third Friday in January. As human beings, we are naturally drawn to the allure of big changes. They promise instant results and dramatic improvements. We're bombarded with this everywhere. Social media promises big change. If you just do this exercise technique for 30 days, everything's going to change. Or the front of magazine covers or shows that promise sweeping transformation. Instant results, dramatic improvements. We like it. Go big or go home. The underdog story, the before and after. But you know the reality, just like I do. Big changes are exciting, but research shows they are rarely sustainable. Wah, wah. But good news. That is where Dr. B.J. Fogg's groundbreaking method of tiny habits come in. Dr. Fogg is a behavioral scientist at Stanford University and is the creator of the Tiny Habits method. He has spent decades studying how small, incremental changes lead to lasting transformation. His approach is simple but profound. Start small, celebrate success, work with the brain, and build momentum over time. It is backed by a lot of science. Research on habit formation shows small behaviors repeated consistently are far more likely to stick than sweeping changes that rely on willpower or motivation alone. So let's unpack this month's practice, Dr. B.J. Fogg's Tiny Habits method. I have been a health coach for over 15 years, and this is absolutely one of my top favorite tools I recommend to clients that are looking to create some new changes in their behavior. Whether you're looking to improve your health, increase your sense of healthy relationship, or connecting with more purpose, this practice will give you real tools to create some change, to get some movement and a momentum without the overwhelm. Dr. Fogg suggests there are 3 reasons why most of us have a hard time making sustainable change. Number 1, we judge ourselves far too harshly when we fail. Losing weight, for example. We go out to eat with friends, we order a big meal, we think we've fallen off the wagon, we feel bad, we return to our previous eating habits, and inevitably we repeat the cycle again and again, where we oscillate between overconsumption and restriction. This is a very common pattern we see when we set a goal for ourselves that's rigid. Our brain gets frustrated and we swing to the other side where we want more freedom and autonomy. Then we're frustrated that change isn't happening, so we swing back to restriction. You get the pattern. I am sure you've seen it in your life too. We get discouraged and we give up. And people don't change by feeling bad. This is a core tenet of Dr. Fogg's work. We use shame, we use guilt, and it might work in the short term, but it certainly doesn't work for long-term behavior change. Number 2, we mistake aspirations for behaviors. I see this one all the time as a coach. When I'm asking folks about what they'd like to see change in their life, they tell me about aspirations. An aspiration is what we usually call goals. It's this abstract desire. It is impossible to achieve in any given moment. You can't suddenly get better sleep, or you can't suddenly meditate more. It's important, but the key to real behavior change is behavior. And behavior, according to Dr. Fogg, is something you can do right now or at another specific point in time. For instance, you can put your phone on airplane mode before you go to bed to get a better night's sleep. Behaviors are measurable, actionable, and you can be accountable when you understand what the behavior is that gets you closer to the aspiration. So when you're thinking about this for yourself, think about specific behaviors that can help you to get closer to those aspirations. The third reason we struggle to make change is we set big, lofty goals and rely on motivation to achieve them. I can't tell you the amount of people that have said, I just have low motivation and willpower. Research suggests motivation is unreliable and exhaustible. Same thing with willpower. They are meant to be used for when we have to do something hard in the moment without needing to count on it again and again. Without a prompt or ability to do the behavior, motivation won't take you where you want to go. We often assume to get a behavior to happen, we have to focus on motivation. But in reality, according to Dr. Fogg's research, motivation isn't as important as we might think. How does the tiny habits method work? It's helpful to think about it with the ABCs. A stands for anchor, B stands for a tiny behavior, and C is celebration. I'll break this down in the specifics in just a minute, but an anchor is an existing routine, like brushing your teeth, that reminds you to do the new tiny behavior. We have scores of anchor behaviors and habits we have in our life. Think about all the things you do in the same order at the same time throughout the day you don't even think about. Those are behaviors we want to capitalize on because you're already doing them. Maybe it's putting your seatbelt on when you get in the car, or turning on the light switch, or the order in which you wash and condition your hair in the shower, where you put your keys when you walk into your house. This is an existing routine. A tiny behavior is a small action you can do in less than 30 to 90 seconds. It might be flossing one tooth or doing 2 push-ups. You need to do the tiny behavior immediately after you do the anchor behavior. Then celebrate. That's C. The celebration piece is important. It's something you do to create a positive emotion, such as smiling or saying awesome or yeah, giving yourself a fist pump in the air. You celebrate immediately after doing the new tiny behavior to wire the new behavior into the brain. The tiny habit recipe goes like this. After I will, and then celebrate. After I do the existing routine in your life that will remind you to do the new behavior, and then the new behavior you want to do but scale back to be super easy and super tiny, then the celebration. As I was thinking about this, I was thinking about what are some of the tiny habits I do in my life. For sure, without a doubt, the most successful tiny behavior I've got is after I turn on the water from my shower, I do 3 squats. It's very simple. The goal here is to choose a behavior you can replicate and actually increase, scale up. For me, most of the time, I might do 15, 20, 25 squats before I hop in the shower. But on those days it just feels too hard and too much, I always return back to my base behavior, which is after I turn on the water, I do 3 squats. When Dr. Fogg was starting out with this method, he was doing research on himself. It's a gross, tiny habit, but it's one that will stick to you. His was, after I flush the toilet, I will do 2 push-ups. So for him, it was different depending on how much water he drank throughout the day or whatever, depended on how many push-ups he was doing. But for him, that anchor behavior was the flush of the toilet or flossing one tooth. I know it sounds ridiculous, but on your most tired nights, you can floss one tooth. I'm happy to say most nights I floss my whole mouth. But even on those tough nights, I will go back to that anchor behavior of after I brush my teeth, I will floss one tooth. Another one that I do is after I let the dog out in the morning, I say a morning mantra. There's a lot of different tiny habit recipes I will include on our podcast page that will give you a lot of different ideas depending on the type of behavior you would like to change for yourself. Maybe it's about physical fitness. Maybe it's about eating more vegetables or drinking more water or spending more time meditating or practicing gratitude. Whatever that is, there are recipes and behaviors that can help you increase these tiny habits in your life. The last thing I'll mention is how celebration matters to your brain. Dr. Fogg has found habits form more quickly as long as people have a strong positive emotion connected to the behavior. For that reason, it's vital you celebrate immediately after performing your new habit. When you celebrate, you create this positive feeling inside that wires to the new habit inside your brain. When we feel good, our brain releases dopamine. We are able to remember the behavior that led to that positive feeling, and we are much more likely to do it again. This doesn't need to be complicated, but you want it to put a smile on your face. Like mentioned before, maybe it's giving yourself a high five in the mirror. Maybe it's like, whoop, or some sort of little celebration. I did it. Awesome. Way to go. Whatever feels like it is a positive celebration for you, stick with that. What matters most is how you celebrate. It's that immediacy and intensity of the celebration after doing the new habit. I invite you to check out Dr. Fogg's Tiny Habits. He's got a great book on tiny habits, as well as in our show notes, a variety of resources that can increase your creativity and capacity in learning this new method. It's a great skill to practice and figure out how you might want to use tiny habits to grow those behaviors that feel really important to creating a life closer to who you are and who you want to be. Thanks for joining me today and practicing together, because practice makes possible. And that's how we become more wildly resilient. So until next time, keep practicing and be well. Thank you for listening to Becoming Wildly Resilient. This podcast is brought to you by University of Kentucky Human Resources Health and Wellness. We offer a wide range of online and in-person services to support the well-being of UK employees, retirees, and their spouses. You can find experts in mental health, personal resilience, nutrition, and physical activity. We're ready to meet you where you are and address your unique needs. To learn more about the work-life and well-being services offered by UK Human Resources, visit hr.uky.edu/wellbeing. You can also connect with us on social media and YouTube by searching @UKY Wellness or by email at healthandwellness@uky.edu.